If you are still holding out hope for a peaceful, happy ending for Kristina as she packs her bags to pursue her studies, I'm here to tell you to prepare for a brutal, soul-crushing heartbreak. For weeks, we have watched the writers neatly wrap up her storyline, giving her a quiet exit that feels almost too perfect, too serene for a legacy family like the Corinthos clan. But let us face the cold, hard truth. In Port Charles, a quiet departure is rarely a permanent peace. It is usually the calm before a catastrophic storm. The idea that Kate Mancy's character is just going to sit in a classroom, read textbooks, and live happily ever after is a naive fantasy. The reality is far more sinister. I am looking at the chessboard, and every single piece points to an impending tragedy that will shatter Sonny and Alexis to their absolute core. If you think she is just taking a temporary leave of absence, you are gravely mistaken. We are looking at a permanent, devastating exit, and the blood will be on the hands of a monster we have not even truly met yet. Right now, the narrative being fed to us is that Kristina is simply leaving town to follow her academic dreams. It is a classic soap opera trope, a convenient way to put a character on ice. However, if you ask me, this is nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion of safety. We are supposed to believe that she will be miles away, safe in a dorm room, far removed from the mob violence and treacherous betrayals that constantly plague her family. But when has a member of a legacy family ever truly escaped their bloodline? The Corinthos name is a target painted on the back of everyone who bears it. I strongly suspect that this academic pursuit is actually the setting for her ultimate demise. The domino effect is already in motion, and the first piece falls the moment Kristina steps onto that seemingly innocent college campus. She believes she is starting a fresh chapter, but in reality she is walking straight into a meticulously planned death trap. Let us break down exactly how this nightmare could unfold. I do not believe this will be a loud, chaotic mob hit with screeching tires and blazing guns. No, this will be far more insidious. I theorize that the attacker is already there, waiting for her. Someone deeply embedded in the student body, perhaps a charming classmate or a helpful teaching assistant. This person will wear a friendly smile, offering to help her carry her books or show her around the campus. Kristina, eager to make new friends and establish a normal life, will let her guard down. She will invite this disguised predator into her inner circle, completely unaware of their hidden agenda. Day by day, this wolf in sheep's clothing will study her routines, map out her vulnerabilities, and wait for the perfect, isolated moment to strike. The sheer psychological terror of realizing that the person you trusted is actually your executioner is a classic, chilling hallmark of this show's best villains. When the attack finally happens, it will be swift and merciless, setting off a chain reaction that will tear Port Charles apart. The next domino falls when the phone rings in Alexis Davis's home. Can you imagine the sheer, unadulterated horror of that moment? Alexis, perhaps sipping her morning coffee, answering a call from an out-of-town hospital or police precinct. The frantic rush to find Sonny, the desperate scrambling to charter a private jet. In that agonizing flight out of Port Charles, Sonny and Alexis will be clinging to a fragile thread of hope, praying to whatever higher power will listen, that their daughter is just injured, that they can throw enough money and top-tier surgeons at the problem to bring her back. They will abandon their businesses, their local conflicts, and their entire lives, driven solely by the primal instinct to save their child. But guys, this is where the theory takes a dark, irreversible turn. What if it is not a rescue mission? What if they arrive at the hospital, breathless and terrified, only to be met by a somber doctor shaking their head? I am predicting that Kristina will not survive this attack. The journey to save her will instantly transform into a soul-shattering mission to claim her body. Imagine the visceral agony of Sonny Corinthos, a man who has built an empire on power and intimidation, completely broken and sobbing over the lifeless body of his daughter. Imagine Alexis, a mother who has fought tooth and nail for her children, collapsing under the weight of an unimaginable grief. The death of Kate Mancy's character would not just be a sad exit, it would be a seismic event that permanently alters the DNA of the show. It would destroy the very foundation of this legacy family, leaving nothing but ashes and sorrow in its wake. Now, we must ask the most critical question. Who would orchestrate such a heinous act? Why target Kristina now? Let us look at the current landscape of Port Charles. Ross Cullum has met his bitter end. Jen Sidwell is currently sitting in police custody, his immediate threat seemingly neutralized. The obvious enemies have been cleared from the board, but nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the criminal underworld. Someone new is pulling the strings, someone with a deep, festering hatred for Sonny Corinthos, or perhaps someone who simply sees Sonny as an obstacle to ultimate power. This cannot be a random act of violence. The precision, the patience required to infiltrate Kristina's new life, it reeks of a highly sophisticated, well-funded operation. The mastermind behind this is someone who understands that you do not attack the king directly. You slaughter his beloved princess to break his spirit. This brings us to the mysterious arrival of the executive known only as Hudson. On the surface, Hudson appears to be just another wealthy businessman looking to make a splash in Port Charles. But if you ask me, that tailored suit and charming demeanor are nothing but a smokescreen. I strongly theorize that Hudson is the true architect of Kristina's murder. He is not acting alone. I believe he is a deeply loyal, highly trained subordinate of Jen Sidwell, a sleeper agent who has been biding his time in the shadows. While Sidwell played the loud, aggressive villain, Hudson was the silent tactician, the man with the hidden agenda. Hudson knew that as long as Sonny was focused and in control of Port Charles, the Corinthos territory would be impenetrable. He needed a distraction. But not just a minor inconvenience, he needed a cataclysmic event that would blind Sonny with rage and grief. Hudson's manipulative scheme is terrifying in its brilliance. By ordering the hit on Kristina at her out-of-town school, he achieves multiple objectives simultaneously. First, he inflicts a wound so deep that Sonny will be paralyzed by emotional agony. Second, and most importantly, he forces Sonny and Alexis to physically leave Port Charles. Hudson knew that the moment Kristina was in danger, Sonny would drop everything and fly out of state, leaving his territories, his businesses, and his allies completely unguarded. Kristina's tragic death is not just an act of vengeance, it is a meticulously calculated tactical maneuver. Hudson is using the corpse of a legacy family member as a mere stepping stone to achieve his ultimate goal of total domination. It is ruthless, it is cold-blooded, and it is exactly the kind of high-stakes drama that keeps us glued to our screens. As the next domino topples, we will see the true extent of Hudson's genius. While Sonny and Alexis are hundreds of miles away, lost in a fog of planning a funeral and mourning their unimaginable loss, Hudson will make his grand entrance into Port Charles. He will stroll into the Metro Court, order an expensive drink, and begin his hostile takeover without a single bullet being fired. The boss is gone, the enforcers are distracted, and the throne is sitting empty. Hudson will exploit this power vacuum with surgical precision. He will present himself to the local politicians, the hospital board, and the legitimate business owners as a savior, a clean, corporate alternative to the messy mob violence of the Corinthos organization. He will smile, shake hands, and quietly slit the metaphorical throats of Sonny's entire operation. But Hudson cannot do it entirely alone, which means he will undoubtedly seek out an unholy alliance. He will identify the weak links in Sonny's chain of command. Perhaps he approaches a disgruntled rival, a corrupt official, or even someone within Sonny's own trusted circle who is feeling neglected. With his endless financial resources and his ruthless cunning, Hudson will buy loyalty and silence. He will systematically dismantle the Corinthos Empire from the inside out, replacing Sonny's loyalists with his own mercenaries. By the time the ink dries on Kristina's death certificate, Hudson will have his fingers in the docks, the local businesses, and the underground trade routes. He will have erected an invisible fortress around Port Charles, ensuring that when the king finally returns, he will be walking into a trap of his own making. It is a vicious cycle that we have seen play out time and time again in this town, but never with stakes this devastatingly personal. The tragic irony is that Sonny has spent his entire life trying to protect his children from the consequences of his lifestyle, only to have his daughter brutally murdered to facilitate a business takeover. The guilt will eat Sonny alive. He will realize his mere existence put the target on Kristina's back. This realization will either destroy him completely, reducing him to a shell of the man he once was, or it will ignite a firestorm of vengeance. But Hudson is betting that the profound grief will break Sonny's mind before he can even comprehend that his empire has been stolen from under his nose. Imagine the cinematic tragedy of Sonny's eventual return. He and Alexis step off the plane, dressed in black, carrying the unimaginable burden of burying their child. They return to a city they believe they control, seeking the comfort of their home turf to mourn in peace. But instead of a loyal army waiting to support their grieving boss, Sonny will find closed doors, averted eyes, and a new king sitting at the head of the table. Hudson will be waiting for him, offering hollow condolences with a sinister smirk. Sonny will realize in one horrifying moment of clarity that he has lost absolutely everything. His daughter is dead, his legacy is gone, and the man responsible is standing right in front of him. Untouchable. If this theory proves true, the departure of Kate Mancy will not just be a footnote in the history of General Hospital. It will be the catalyst for the darkest, most intense era of the Corinthos family we have ever witnessed. Hudson will instantly cement himself as the most formidable, calculating villain to ever walk the streets of Port Charles, a man who built his empire on the blood of an innocent student. The chess pieces are moving, the trap is set, and the illusion of a happy ending is about to shatter into a million jagged pieces. The only question left to ask is, when Sonny finally realizes that Hudson orchestrated the slaughter of his little girl, will he have the strength left to fight back, or has the vicious cycle finally claimed its ultimate victory?